Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I have a very special guest who's no stranger to the show, Alessio Quaglini, who's the CEO of Hex Trust. Alessio, great to have you again.
Well, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
You guys have been making a lot of progress, a lot of updates that I want to touch on today. But before we get into the different updates, can you give a quick overview of what Hex Trust is for those who may not know?
Yeah, sure. So the company was founded in Hong Kong in 2018, and since then we've been focusing on building an enterprise-grade platform that helps banks and other financial institutions enter the digital asset ecosystem and integrate digital assets into their business models within a highly secure, scalable, and compliant framework. So we've been operating since 2018. We are headquartered here in Hong Kong, but we have offices in Singapore, and we're now expanding to Europe. We're planning in the first half of the year, but we had to postpone it to the second half of the year. And we offer both licensed custody solutions through our licensed entities, but also software or enterprise solutions for those banks or financial institutions that actually want to internalize digital asset solutions within their core banking system.
Very interesting. And the news I was very eager to talk to you about is the addition of Colin Brooks, who's an ex-HSBC global head of custody, being added to your advisory board. How did that relationship come about and him getting added to your board?
Yeah, so Colin is really a great addition to the team. And so as you know, he was global head of custody and sub-custody at HSBC. And then for the past few years, he also had a custody role as Standard Chartered in Singapore. Mm-hmm. So I think that obviously, as you well know, until recently, the digital asset business was more focused on crypto enthusiasts and retail interests, right? But in the past few months, or maybe a couple of years, we've seen more and more institutional interest. So, which means, I mean, that's the reason we actually are in the market, right? To enable financial institutions to enter this market. But financial institutions will not enter the market unless those key requirements, the internal and external key requirements that they have, are complied with. So Colin really brings to us that expertise, understanding of how the custody business is run within a financial institution and how we can provide them with those tools and match their requirements in order to integrate our platform.
Very interesting. So you are seeing a lot of demand from institutional investors. It seems it's ramping up. And I heard, well, I shouldn't say I heard, but I read the news about Fidinam partnering with them to offer a more holistic digital asset management service. Can you elaborate on that partnership?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, as I was mentioning, it's been in the past couple of years, we've seen financial institutions and mainly banks really looking at the market. At the beginning, it was analyzing the market, trying to understand what would be the business model, what would be the revenue streams, and then what would be the costs and the kind of reputational risk, all the other risks that will be involved in a digital asset project for banks. But now I think most of these things have been already addressed by companies in the space, right? So the partnership with Fidinam is really to give comfort to our clients that while entering the digital asset business, or while making digital asset investments, they would be covered with a one-stop solution, meaning that they will not only have somebody that keeps the asset for you, but they will be referred to somebody else that will also be able to address all those tax, audit, etc., and administration issues that are usually points that need to be addressed in order to enter the space. And Fidinam, as an international leader with presence, obviously in Switzerland, Europe, and in Asia, gives our family office and investment firms that comfort that they can have somebody with from the traditional space with the required expertise to help them enter the space.
So that's really great news. To your point, you're bringing all the puzzle pieces together. Many of the services and infrastructure that exists in the traditional financial markets now being set up for crypto and digital assets and for the big institutional players. So that's really great news. Very bullish news, in my opinion. And then I also read that you guys partnered with Privatbank Liechtenstein AG to provide custody services for their Asia-based clients. Can you elaborate on that, shed some light there?
Yeah, I mean, as I was mentioning at the beginning, our target clients are really banks and other financial institutions. So the first entrants in the space are banks, right? And within banks, the ones that moved a little bit in a more agile fashion are private banks. And why is that? Because obviously they have their high net worth individuals, ultra high net worth individuals that are demanding services to buy or trade cryptocurrencies. So Mason Bank is the second private bank that we onboard on our platform. And what we allow them to do is basically to safekeep the cryptocurrency assets for their clients. So which means that all their ultra high net worth individuals will be able to buy, sell, and safekeep assets within a banking environment, but leveraging our technology platform.
Very interesting. Would you be able to disclose, and it's okay if you cannot, which is your largest banking client that leverages your services?
Unfortunately, I can't, but I will be able to do it hopefully before the end of the month.
Oh, wow.
We can have a conversation, and I think that one is probably going to be a very interesting project. It's not really, one thing, it's just safekeeping assets for your clients, but a completely different type of project is something that allows you to connect to other service providers in the industry and offer a kind of 360-degree service for them. And that's what we're working on.
Okay, I'm very excited to hear about that. So we'll have to have you come back and talk about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So one of the questions that came from the community was, what's the talk in the circles of the banks and institutional investors? Like, has their narrative changed about Bitcoin and crypto and digital assets? Are they now, hey, we need to get into this. Let's start leveraging your services. Let's start offering trading services. If you can take us behind the curtain, if you can, are they getting more bullish about the crypto market?
Well, I think it's a combination of factors. So let's talk about the asset class. So first of all, the asset class is becoming, it's always been there, right? But it's becoming more interesting because there is more data available for institutions to understand how it behaves in different market cycles, and especially because every single central bank is printing so much money at the moment. And everybody's concerned about the devaluation of fiat currencies, and everybody's concerned about the risk of inflation.
Right.
So there's a lot of attention towards looking for assets that can be a good hedge against inflation. Right? So I think we've seen I don't want to get into the technical analysis, which I'm not an expert of, but I think we've seen a higher correlation between the price of Bitcoin and gold in the past few weeks, exactly for this reason, right? So gold has reached 2,000 US dollar as an inflation hedge, and the same thing for Bitcoin. So there's an interest for this asset class, and usually financial institutions and banks in particular, they make a move if they feel that there is a demand coming from their clients. So they've seen demand from their institutional clients, they've seen demand from their kind of high net worth individuals, family offices, and now they're seeing demand from retail clients. So they started considering this asset class. On the other side, you have the obstacles, right? So until recently, obviously, there were many obstacles from a regulatory perspective, but we've seen a lot of progress there. So obviously, the recent announcement of the OCC in the United States, but we've also seen a crypto regulation in Germany, framework in France. Also, some Asian countries are moving quite fast. So banks feel more comfortable from a regulatory perspective. Then, and I don't want to get into the details, but obviously banks need platforms, need certifications, need certain kind of level of assurance that they will not incur any risk if they integrate a new asset class. But now we're seeing in the platform enterprise in the market enterprise grade platforms being available for financial institutions. And lastly, I would say, obviously, from a compliance perspective, this has always been the major obstacle for banks, but we are seeing solutions from that angle. So the blockchain analytics companies, they have solved the problem of source or traceability of funds, and at the same time, the new travel rule applied to virtual asset service providers, I think will provide additional comfort for regulated financial institutions to enter the space.
Got it. And you mentioned the OCC's green light for the banks, U.S. banks to custody crypto. Did that come as a surprise to you guys? And I know you're in Hong Kong, so you're not in the United States, but was it like, oh wow, okay, the U.S. is kind of now picking up pace here? What was the reaction on that region?
Well, I don't want to say that it's a kind of a herd mentality, but at the same time, if you have certain markets enabling this business, then if you are on the other side of the ocean and you're seeing other markets picking up market share, you don't want to just lag behind, right? So sure. We've seen obviously significant progress in certain European countries. We've seen progress in Asia, and I mean now it's going to be a race from all these developed markets to put in place frameworks that allow institutions to activate the business. So yeah, obviously, I was surprised when I read the news, but I think we will see more and more coming, and there will be an acceleration pushed by the fact that several markets have already made a move. So all the other ones will have to start competing and being faster than the other ones that already made the move.
Got it. That sounds very bullish to me. One of the questions that came from the community was, as far as demand for the different cryptos and digital assets, what's the highest demand, maybe the top three that you see folks are buying up, the banks, the institutional investors? Is it Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, in that order, or maybe something different?
It really depends on the type of client and why they're buying. So obviously, from an investment perspective, so high net worth individuals, family offices, funds, I would say then 90% of the business is still Bitcoin and Ethereum. That is, I mean, that sounds a little bit like nothing has changed, but it's actually a big shift from considering the fact that institutions are already considering part of their portfolio to Bitcoin and Ethereum, something that a couple of years ago or 1 year ago didn't exist. So from the institutional angle, I would say that the attention is on Bitcoin, Ethereum on one side, and on the other side on stable coins and institutional central bank issued kind of digital currencies, right? Everybody's looking at the space, trying to understand how it would work and what kind of moves they have to make to enable that kind of business. From a more crypto fund digital asset perspective, I think part of the interest, I mean, we've seen obviously the dominance of Bitcoin going down because we're seeing more and more interest in the DeFi space. And DeFi and centralized or decentralized stablecoins are actually currently, I would say, the focus for the digital asset ecosystem.
Got it. And there was some news earlier, or I should say in July, where you announced that there was a full integration of the Tezos blockchain staking and baking functionalities into your Hex Trust crypto platform, custody platform, and as well as to provide custody to the security tokens built on top of the Tezos protocol. Can you talk about that and why Tezos was chosen?
Yeah, I mean, I think the market is becoming very complex. So there are a lot of protocols out there. I'm not talking about tokens, but real protocols. And now, well, some years ago, it was mainly, Bitcoin and all kinds of derivatives of Bitcoin. So using more or less the same technology, just different forks of different aspects that were derived from Bitcoin. So, but right now we have lots of protocols that use very different technologies. So I think that the going forward is going to be very hard for every single player in the industry to have a platform that can integrate all of these protocols. So I see the role of the custodian as the enabler for all these protocols. So obviously exchanges are still very, very big when compared to custodians. So right now they have the resources to have all these protocols integrated within the exchanges. But in the future, I see more exchanges coming to the market and kind of outsourcing the protocol integration and the technology, the wallets, to specialized custodians that do that as a business. So considering this kind of vision for the future, at Hex Trust, we want to be the platform that is able to integrate those protocols that we think will be interesting for our target clients. And Tezos has a lot of interesting features and significant focus on the institutional space. So and I think there's an interesting angle in how security tokens can actually be implemented on Tezos, and we've seen interest in the market. So we wanted to make sure that the protocol would be fully integrated within our platform HexSafe, and that our clients using the platform would be able to safekeep, do transactions, but at the same time stake and bake the tokens.
Got it. Very interesting. I have interviewed some folks on my end, folks from Vertalo, who are tokenizing a lot of like real estate on the Tezos blockchain. So that's very interesting. So I want to ask, and I ask everyone I interview, and what's their Bitcoin price prediction if you have one, and your outlook on the crypto market.
Well, yeah, this is the question that I usually don't want to answer. But I mean, what I would say is that Bitcoin is really about. I mean, Bitcoin is not a hype anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would say that now there is. It's really a market that is quite liquid. There are also liquid derivative instruments, and more or less. Everybody that really wants to enter the market, trade Bitcoin, can do it. So obviously there is a little bit of there is price manipulation, but there is real supply and demand in the market. So the price of Bitcoin will be driven by the amount of demand and the amount of supply, and we are seeing progressively constantly increasing demand. Mm. And we're seeing not only investors, but we're seeing technology platforms. We're seeing new service providers buying Bitcoins. So, I mean, I'm quite convinced that we will see a significant price increase before the end of the year.
Wow. I think many folks are certainly bullish and looking forward definitely towards the end of the year and into next year. So I wanted to follow up on one item we spoke about in April when we did the last interview, and that is you had partnered with R3 and had an integration into their Corda blockchain. Are there any updates, anything you can share as far as the progress? And there's folks who, wanted to find out, is XRP involved in any way? Because we've heard about the rumors and talks about R3 and XRP and Ripple and all that. Anything you can share there?
Actually, there is no much that I can share. Okay. Not because there is no much going on. Actually, there is a lot going on, but these projects are more institutional. They take a little bit longer time to implement and to go to market. What I would say is that there's a lot of work going on in the enterprise blockchain space, as you can imagine. There's a lot of interest in using this kind of solutions for the more institutional use cases, right? So I think before the end of the year, we will see very interesting updates on how these institutional grade projects will be delivered, and we're involved in a couple of those. Again, maybe before the end of the month, we will have some updates that I will be able to share. But things are moving. Obviously, the traditional market is moving a little bit more slowly than the crypto digital asset DeFi market, but things are moving, and I'm very bullish from that perspective.
Got it. Alessio, I'm going to wrap it up with one more question here. It's rapid fire. What's your favorite food?
Pasta.
What's your favorite musician or artist?
Gustav Mahler.
Nice. What's your favorite movie?
Oh, God. That's my favorite movie. There's a tough one. My favorite movie, The Godfather.
Oh, very nice. What's your favorite book?
My favorite book. You should have told me you were going to ask me this question. My favorite book. Something I've read recently, maybe, or something.
Sure.
I need to think about it.
Okay.
I'll send you the answer.
Okay, awesome. And when you're not working at Hex Trust, what are you doing for fun as far as a pastime or hobby?
I would say, music is one of my hobbies. I usually try to play the piano at least sometime every day. And then my other hobby is wine.
Nice.
So, I mean, it's not really easy right now, but I try to travel 3-4 times a year, visiting some wine regions.
Mm.
and exploring, trying to understand more, trying to talk to the winemakers, and then try to taste as many wines as possible every week.
Very cool. Alessio, I've learned so much today. I'm excited to hear the big news coming later this month and the additional things in line for Hex Trust. And we'll love to have you back on to talk about the upcoming news.
Okay. You will be the first one to know. I'm
Awesome.
sorry that I couldn't disclose more, but
no problem. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.